Hey guys, welcome back. Just been laid off. This channel has always been my passion for cars. It was a place to share them and to connect with you guys. But today is a little different because it's going to be a bit personal. This layoff has given me some time to pause and reflect, not only on my career, but my life. And so I thought I'd share some of that with you guys. Maybe one of you guys are going through the same thing, and hearing me talking about it could make you feel better. So if this resonates with just one person, it would be worth it for me. So I was born in South Korea. That kind of sounds like some kind of documentary, but yeah, I was born in South Korea and I came to the States when I was 9. And my parents were professional workers in Korea, but when they moved here, because of the language barrier, they had to take on more of the working class role. My father was a music teacher, but here he was a construction worker. And my mother worked at a hospital as a nutritionist in Korea, but here she was a waitress. So I remember growing up, moving from place to place every year and getting our car repossessed. But my mother has always told me that I was special, like all mothers do. So even in the toughest times, I was a pretty happy kid. So growing up in that kind of environment, dreaming big wasn't really a thing. I started working in middle school as a bakery worker, and then as I grew up, I kind of moved around other jobs like gas station clerk. I worked at a cell phone store. I was a moving helper in college. So I was always kind of working and more focused on work rather than academics, and that kind of showed in my GPA. I was like a solid 2.7 GPA student. Because I never studied. And a 2.7 GPA is pretty low considering that I'm an Asian person. I'm not saying that we're all smart just because we're Asian, but all my friends had like over 3.5 GPA and they were all dreaming of going to Ivy Leagues, and I was just not one of those kids. So when it came time for high school graduation, I was just not doing anything with my life. But my counselor, she forced me to apply to a community college. But even then, I was not focused, and I was just taking like basic classes, and my GPA was still like a 2.7, again, because I just didn't study. When I was around 21 years old, I was working at a cell phone store, but I met this girl at church, and she asked me a question that kind of struck me hard. It was, what do you want to be? And I mean, I've been asked that question a lot, but not by anyone that actually wanted to help me. She actually wanted to help me, and she asked me a bunch of questions in detail. And so my answer was always like something medical, because that's kind of like the default answer for Asian kids. But I wasn't ever serious because, again, my GPA was really bad. But she noticed my passion for cars, and she suggested mechanical engineering. And with my GPA, that was kind of impossible. So I was kind of brushed it aside. I was like, me, engineer? There's no way. But she believed in me, and that kind of planted a seed. And that's also why I married her, because she believed in me more than myself. And so I gave it my everything to academics this time, and I was able to raise my GPA to like a 3.5. And I transferred out to Indiana University as a computer science major. I discovered a love for programming, and in 2017 I graduated. And at that time, the tech industry was really booming. I remember, when you go to like career centers, they tell you about all these different fields, and tech was so hot. All of my classmates, including myself, we all got job offers before we graduated. And so I was recruited by a tech company in Indiana. And my starting salary was like $63,000 with just a bachelor's. And, it felt really good. And $63,000 might not sound like much, but as a college kid who struggled to pay for lunch, it was a lot. I remember texting my older sister, like, hey, can I have like $10 for lunch? I don't have money. And she would send me like 20. And I would be like really thankful for it. So if you're watching this, thank you. So with that kind of salary, I was living in suburbs of Indianapolis with my wife, and it really felt like we were living the dream, because my wife also, she doesn't come from a very wealthy background. And I was the first person in my family to buy a house. And this house was a 2,200 square foot 4 bedroom, 3 bathroom, 2.5 car garage with a pretty decent yard and a top school district. And guess how much it was back in the day? We bought it for $118,000, which is something unimaginable in 2025. But you know, I mean, it was Indiana, but given where I come from, it was still like a dream. And my career was pretty good. My company, we were kind of a small tech company. We had 10 project managers and like 50 developers. I started off as a developer, and after 1 year, I was moved up to project manager position, and it was good. We even before COVID, we had the option to go into the office or stay home, and so that was awesome. Being able to see my kids grow up, and working, and doing laundry and taking care of the house and stuff like that, all while working, it was amazing. As I said, I majored in computer science, so my background was in programming, but computer science is so broad, and when you study computer science, you think you would be a programmer because that's basically all you do at school. But when you land a job, you might be surprised at how many different routes you can take. So even though I was a programmer at first, my career right now is more of a project manager and more communications. So I stare at my emails more than I do like a compiler. So if some of you watching are in the computer science field, keep that in mind, because programming isn't everything. Maybe you just barely got through programming courses like me, but it's okay because you can do other things with it. But anyways, my company was great. When we were going into the office, we would have like game nights and go out to lunch with people, and it was just good. But COVID happened, and inflation happened, and so all these tech companies who prior to that happening were hiring a lot of people. They were going through like budget cuts and restructuring, so a lot of people got laid off, and I was not one of them, thankfully, at the time. So out of the 10 project managers, a couple of them got laid off. A lot of them quit because they wanted to jump ship and go to a different company. But I stayed loyal to this company because it has given me so much, and I really liked my boss. And his name was also Bruce. So maybe we had like we didn't talk much, because when you're working and your boss talks to you a lot, that means you're doing something wrong. When you're doing something right, there's no reason for your boss to talk to you. Obviously other than like personal things, but me and my boss never really talked a lot because I did my own thing and he did his thing. But I really liked him. I liked his personality, and I didn't agree with everything he did, but his company gave me so much, so I stayed on board. And several years passed by, and I am the only remaining project manager, and then we have like 20 or 30 developers left. And maybe that was a sign where I should have jumped ship, but I didn't. I kept staying loyal. But December 31st, 2024, my boss called me, and he was crying, and he said he was sorry to let me go. And a couple days before that call, we found out that we were having a third child. So that alone, the news of our child was like shocking because we weren't planning on it. And then I got laid off. So, and it was the last day of the year. And so you could imagine how my new year of 2025 was. Me and my wife were both in shock. We didn't say anything for like 5 minutes. We were just staring into the air, trying to process what happened. And by the way, the layoffs aren't really unique to my company. Google, Amazon, they laid off a ton of people, especially in the tech department. And a lot of my friends got laid off too. And it wasn't because they were doing a bad job. It was just the company restructuring, and they hired too many people, and there's just not enough work. And I know a lot of smart people that graduated with me, and it wasn't any different for them. So what's next for me? I'm 35 years old. I have 2 kids and a third one on the way, and I just got laid off. Right now I'm just applying for jobs. I've got a couple of rejections and a couple good news, but nothing set in stone right now. I did think about putting more effort into YouTube, but my channel isn't so big where I can just go full time. And frankly, the biggest hurdle is me. I don't think I'm like a TV entertainer personality. I'm more of like a quiet, laid back YouTuber, if you could even call me that. So I don't think this channel is something that I can risk my family with. And also, I had an interesting offer from a former client of mine. Ironically, she got laid off the same time I did, and she suggested starting a business together. But even that is kind of risky because something like 5 out of 10 businesses fail in the first year or something like that. So that's not something I want to do, I want to risk. But I'm staying positive and staying hopeful that this is going to turn into something positive. And on a positive note, this layoff has given me a lot of free time. So I've been working on the Saab more, and I've been playing with my kids more, spending more time with my wife. And I haven't been able to do that for a long time, for 7 years, because I was always working or I was tired. So I'm using this time to catch up on my other things. So, you know, this could be good in a way. So I'm staying positive, I'm putting a smile on my face, because if I start to feel down, that's gonna affect my kids and my family, so I can't do that. So that's been my little story. If one of you guys are going through the same thing and need someone to talk to, you can reach out to me on Instagram. I'll be more than happy to talk to you, because, you know, maybe talking to even just one person would be helpful to, you know, get through that hurdle. So expect more videos. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but yeah, if you made it this far, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.